The ERP Doctors with Dan Aldridge and Sam Gupta, powered by InsightJam.
Welcome back to the ERP Doctors, your source for all things ERP and enterprise technology news and analysis. And I'm here with my co-host and Dr. Sam Gupta from Elevate IQ. And we're going to be having Dragon ERP Paul Byrne, who's an SAP specialist, on as our interview for today. So let's jump right in. So the first thing I have is the first bit of enterprise news that I have is that Capgemini, who's a services firm, has acquired Unity's digital twin professional services arm to accelerate enterprises' digital transformation through 3D technology. And that's basically the Capgemini, of course, is a services firm. Unity as a digital twin 3D modeling software. And it's more or less the ability now with Capgemini, they have the ability to extend their services. So the engineering and 3D services, modeling services for building digital twins. Digital twins are virtual representations of physical things like cars and things for engineering purposes. So that's essentially what they've done is allowed Unity, or they've injected professionals that can spread Unity's services. Is that the way you see it, Sam?
Yeah, so very interesting story. So I'll provide my colors and then we can do a little back and forth, I guess. So from my perspective, obviously, I'll give you some background in terms of Capgemini as well. It's very similar continuation of the different system integrators that we have covered so far. So overall, from the business model perspective, Capgemini is going to have very similar business model as your Virtusa we have covered in last few episodes. Cognizant we have done. And I don't even remember the third one, I guess, Wipro as well. So Capgemini is going to have very similar business model. Now, obviously these acquisitions are very interesting. Most of the companies are focusing on AI at this point of time. Okay, so this is a very interesting acquisition because why would somebody focus on 3D? Okay, and then just for your background, I guess, when you look at, the description that you had provided overall from the 3D perspective, which is great. But at the same time, if you look at the 3D modeling at this point of time, 3D modeling is not as hard. If you look at the way Gartner had forecasted, for example, before AI, if there was something hard, that was metaverse. Okay, everybody was so excited about metaverse, and they were like, okay, AR, VR technologies, 3D technologies, that's where the play is. The market is going to change. Facebook changed their name to Meta, just because of all of that metaverse movement. But now it's all gone. Okay, so what analysts were forecasting is that you don't really have much of a play for 3D anymore, at least in this economy, I guess. That's why nobody was really excited about 3D technologies as such. Okay, but now, if you look at Apple, I think they have launched one of the consumer devices, and now AI is going to be infused with the devices as well. So now there's a little bit of play, overall for 3D. So this is where this might be. And I don't know, Capgemini, as far as I don't know how much they were into really the design and experience space. They were not known. There are other companies who are slightly better known for their e-commerce capabilities, for their design, for their customer experience. These guys were not known. So this is a very, very, very interesting acquisition because they are going, differently from everybody else in the market, I guess.
Yeah, they're known for consulting services, right?
Yeah,
generally, and this is very interesting because it's not. It's very important for this digital twin, though, is very useful. Digital twins, particularly in big engineering and manufacturing, to model the shop floor, to model a product that you're building, like a car or something sophisticated, and you can actually test it. Without VR, you just using your virtual model.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I think it's fantastic that there's somebody doing something on AI in this area.
Yeah, so it's definitely a very interesting story. So I don't know if you want to move to the next one.
Yeah, let's move to the next one. So we got our friend ServiceNow is back. So ServiceNow and NVIDIA, very hot company, of course, AI chips and things like that, microprocessors. And I think they just passed Tesla in valuation, I think, in Meta. So they're just exploding right now. And then, of course, ServiceNow is kind of one of the hotter enterprise technology players. But they've gotten together to do GenAI solutions, and they're very specific to telecommunications. So this is services this is like help desk, customer support, things like that for telcos, like Verizon, AT&T or so calling in. And then it has the chat bot there and, inputs so you can have a better customer service experience. And that's, of course, what ServiceNow's specialty is, right? Customer service experience, employee services experience. So.
Yeah, so very interesting story overall, and I completely agree with your assessment. I mean, one of the things that just pops out from the story is telco, I guess, is going to be the keyword that I really picked it. And I'll give you some more background on ServiceNow, I guess. If you look at their presence, I mean, telco is their primary target market. That's where they win a lot and the most, okay? That's where they are doing a lot of work. Number one, telcos are going to be very heavy in custom development, custom IT, infrastructure, because they are going to have the operational assets that they are going to be building in-house. And media companies are very similar as well. I mean, if you look at large media companies, they are very similar to telco, the way telcos operate. So it's a very, very, very similar, sort of business model. And that's where you have a real play for ServiceNow. So now they are going really deep in those capabilities. In my mind, I mean, it's almost going to be an ERP, I guess, for telcos, because telcos never had this custom prepackaged software that they can that they can get out of the box. And that's where the real play is for enterprise software. What ServiceNow is trying to do, number one, from the process perspective now, this is going to be more from the technical capabilities perspective as well, because obviously you need the hardware firepower, and that's where NVIDIA and this alignment is coming in to develop that hardware firepower that they are going to need to develop these generative AI workflows. So I think I'm very much in alignment with you, Dan. I don't think I have much to add there.
Yeah, well, the large language models, they can train on all that telco data too, right? They've got tons of data that they could train off of. And I think it might be a run against Oracle in a way, because Oracle is really big in the telco space, right? You said that it could be an enterprise technology or sort of more of an ERP that maybe impinges. I mean, I'm thinking of the big ERP players and who it might most affect. Yeah, would be Oracle.
You are absolutely right. I think they are taking market share from Oracle for the most part. Oracle, even though people are going to argue that it was very custom platform as well, but it was meant to be very prescriptive platform. The way ServiceNow framework is designed, it's slightly more technical platform. And when you have technical model, it's slightly more extensible than your business-centric model. Obviously, to be able to create those business capabilities on ServiceNow platform, it's going to require far more consulting expertise, far more development expertise in general. So that increases the overall cost in doing that. So if you're looking for slightly cheaper options, now cheaper when I say overall in terms of consulting, I guess, because you are going to get big ticket item when you are going for Oracle, but here you are going to get real fluidity, and that's what businesses like telco, they really need, and that's why ServiceNow is so successful in verticals such as telco.
Yep, definitely. All right, so let me pick up the next one then. Yeah, let's see. QAD revolutionizes business transformation and operations with launch of industrial transformation platform. Okay, QAD, manufacturing ERP player, quite some time back, 90s type player, and big in automotive, big in pharmaceuticals now. Yeah. But I think as I was reading this one, I was thinking more in terms of, it says revolutionizing business transformation. Yeah. So I think that this industrial transformation platform is almost more services, right? So maybe business processes, best practices, industry verticals, having that come into play in an implementation rather than an actual package of software in a way, right? I mean, there is AI as a part of it. It seems to have AI, and it seems to have some industry specific functionality, and there is process modeling capability in there, it looks like. So, but I think the main thing it's aimed at is helping with implementations and providing that, kind of Gen AI type platform for QAD as a whole. Is that the way you see it, or you see it more as a product thing?
I'll give you some background. There are some layers to it. I have been tracking them for some time, so obviously I have a little bit of background. So number one, and I don't know, how much you are familiar with overall private equity play, I guess. So right now, if you look at QAD is owned by Thoma Bravo, which is probably one of the best private equity out there, to be completely honest. They are the ones who have really created massive enterprise software companies, very, 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 very successful. If you look at their portfolio, they are very supply chain focused. So all of the companies that they have in their portfolio right now, Anaplan, Coupa, QAD. So all of these companies are very supply chain focused, and they are trying to create synergy around supply chain. That's where the real play is, because supply chain is driven by the power of networks, and that's where you have a lot of technologies in their portfolio where they can really capitalize on those capabilities that were not there to be able to create the industry-wide supply chain traceability. And that's where QAD sort of fits in, because they were always present in slightly more supply chain centric industries. Now, if you look at the whole private equity play, for example, let's say if you look at companies that were created by private equity, the classic example always is Infor. Then you have companies like ECI, you have companies like Constellation Software, you have companies like Advantive, which is probably created in 2022 right now. So what private equity and Aptin, I missed them. So generally, the goal of private equity companies is going to be that they don't want to touch on the code base. They don't want to touch on software. What they want to do is they want to create a very, very, very shiny wrapper around the very legacy code base, and they want to sell it, and they want to productize it. Their goal always is to juice out the existing customers as much as possible. That's how private equity business model is designed. Now, Thoma Bravo is different. They invest with the mindset of Warren Buffett. It's going to be very long-term investment. They see the value in innovation. So in this particular case, QAD traditionally was predominantly on probably RGP, very, very, very legacy code base. Now they have innovated this in modern code base. So now who is going to get the biggest threat? This is going to be your vendors who are playing in the manufacturing space. And who are they? Our friends at Infor.
Yes.
Our friends at Apicor. So that's where the real play is. So this particular platform is extremely powerful. Now, this is almost like re-architecting the entire platform that we have not seen with any other ERP vendors. That's why we are personally very, very excited about QAD.
Okay, yeah, it didn't come across in the article. I didn't think that came across in the article, and I appreciate your perspective that you're adding is that it was a kind of a complete redesign of the cloud ERP itself. It seemed more like a services operating like, on an operating system per se, that maybe has supply chain components in it, but it is a wrapper, like you say. But if they have a Warren Buffett type strategy, then they are in for the long haul, right? They're not just trying to sell it off.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to move to the next one. We have some more time right now.
Yes, I do. So the Constellation ShortList Product-Centric Cloud ERP. Basically, if you're on that list, what does it mean, essentially?
Yeah, so very interesting. So Dan, I don't know if you want to provide your colors first, or do you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll go first. So Ray Wang and those guys, Holger Muller and all those guys have been around a while, and they've been big analysts. They are, as far as I know, tech agnostic, and you would probably know even better than I would on that point, you being tech agnostic yourself, is that they are not pay for play, right? So to be on this list, and it says that they consider 25 solutions, and they have a short list of 10. Okay. So I think it's pretty prestigious to even be in that short list. So I think it's a big thing for marketing purposes to be on there. And in a way, it has a bit better kick than a Gartner almost, because they're competitors of Gartner, right? But they're kind of a little bit more niche and maybe regarded as a little bit more, that their endorsement means a little bit more.
Yeah. So, so number one, great company. I have a lot of respect for Ray Wang, obviously amazing analyst. I love him. Okay. But, some of the terms, for example, let's say you mentioned pay for play. Okay. I always like to define it. And the best way to define it is going to be how these companies are making money, because that's what drives a lot of these things, right? So, for example, Constellation Research, they are going to be paid by the enterprise software vendors, and you are publishing the list for enterprise software vendors. So there is a little bit of influence there. I'm not saying that is going to be complete influence, but there is a little bit of influence, and that's how the majority
of it's the same
sort
of thing there.
The majority of the media companies are designed. Exactly. But what I'm really interested overall in these articles is the quality of analysis. Okay, what are the factors that they are looking at? And, I will provide my POV. Jen, you can provide your POV in terms of, whether you agree with the list, whether you don't agree with the list. And lists as such, they don't mean much, to be completely honest. Okay. That's what we always say, because obviously we are publishing the list as well. They don't have a ton of value. What we always ask you is pay attention to the variables, pay attention to the quality of the analysis, because that's what matters in these lists. So I'll give you some of the variables. So the variables that are mentioned, AI and automation capabilities. Just to sort of retouch on the list, this is for the product-centric companies. So it's not very clear whether it is for smaller companies, is it for enterprise or mid-market, because they are going to have very, 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 very different needs. The needs that enterprise companies are going to have, they are not going to be relevant for your SMB customers. So here you have AI, automation capabilities, configure to order, make to order. Now that could be relevant for some companies, but is it going to be relevant for everybody? Probably not. Okay. Then you have demand planning, direct procurement, enterprise asset management. Now, enterprise asset management could be a complete bucket in itself. You have a lot of best of breed.
Huge thing that sits beside the ERP, right? Enterprise asset management is a whole nother. It's a whole nother animal.
Exactly. Enterprise financials, field service management, human capital management is a category in itself. Now, does it matter for this particular list? Probably not, because this is an ERP list, right? This is not supposed to be the HCM platform list. Now, you have the indirect procurement, MRP, you have manufacturing controls, order management, product lifecycle management, which is again another bucket, supply chain management. Now, let's look at the list. Epicor, great, positioning, because they are really known for product-centric companies. They have to be there. Great job. IFS, I'm not too sure. The reason for that is because IFS is primary target
industries, right?
Their primary target market is, service-centric industries. I mean, that's where they are really, really, really strong. They don't even need to compete in product-centric industries, because they will win 100% of the time in those service-centric industries. That is going to be your oil and gas. That is going to be your, project-centric manufacturing. Not manufacturing, but project-centric industries. MRO, airline-centric industries. That's where IFS is really strong. Telco, they are really, really strong. Okay, so they don't need to be on the product-centric list. Infor Cloud Suite, great job. Yes, they should be on this list. Microsoft Dynamics 365.
Man.
They are sort of both. So yes, great job. They have to be there because they do have very strong capabilities. Oracle Cloud ERP, I would say 70-ish% of their customers are probably in service-centric industries. Maybe 30-ish are probably going to be in product-centric industries. They might rank on our list as well, but it could be confusing, especially if you don't have details around why they are listed here. Flex by Rockwell Automation. Now, the enterprise products are being mixed with the smaller. So they are definitely part of your product-centric industries. So great job. Sage X3 is a very unique product. So they are going to be primarily in the pharma, agriculture-centric space. So tricky. SAP S/4HANA Cloud, known for product-centric industry, so great job there. So I don't know. Those are my 2 cents, I guess, Dan.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think it's a good list. And when you have these lists by nature, if you looked at it from a manufacturing lens, let's say, it could be a completely different list or be reordered. But I think that's a solid group right there. And I think some are a little bit smaller. You have 2 flavors of Microsoft Dynamics, for example. Could be big, could be enterprise, could be SMB, depending on which flavor, so on. So yeah, I agree with your analysis there. I think it's a good solid list.
Yeah, so I guess, we are probably at 20 minutes point right now. So I don't know. We'll probably come back. We'll cover some more stories in the last segment as well as the interview analysis.
Yeah, we can cover those last 2 because I really would like to get to those. So maybe we
do you want to do it in the
2.
last segment, or do you want to do it right now?
Let's see. I think we can spend just a couple more minutes on this one about Rimini Street. I think that Rimini Street, so they're a big SAP, Oracle, Salesforce type of maintenance, or they have maintenance, they have your authorization management and support services. So basically, they'll pick up a contract for a fraction of the cost, or maybe half the cost of an SAP, for instance. But it looks like with this custom thing, Rimini Custom is just expanding their services to more ERPs, I think. More enterprise technologies, but they don't say which. They don't say which and how far down they're going, because this is an enterprise company, right? Rimini Street. They're huge companies that they're supporting, and they're taking up service contracts on Oracle and SAP ERP contracts, Salesforce maintenance, stuff like that. So is it they're just coming down market a bit and including more solutions? Is that all it is?
So, obviously there are not a lot of details, so it's going to be a lot of guessing here in terms of, but I'll guess based on my understanding of their business model. So you are right that they were primarily present in SAP S/4HANA, Oracle-centric, workloads, and they were primarily the support organization, to be completely honest. That's what their business model, they'll negotiate against VARs, as well as any of your SAP support, and they will say that we are going to have slightly superior support. That was their primary business model. Now, my understanding of custom, and the reason why they don't have a lot of details, is because creating these practices around many different ERP systems. Number one, you have to navigate with a lot of politics. That is never easy in the enterprise software space. And number 2, it's very hard to build all of those expertise. So my understanding of this is going to be that they are trying to support custom software. Custom software is far easier to support than an enterprise software product, because you don't have to go through politics. You have far more knowledge available, openly. So they are far easier to support. You can find talent outside. They are going to have knowledge. So it's just easier to build a practice around that. So that would be my understanding, that they are probably doing that. There is a possibility that they might cover some more, products as well. But the name custom sounds like as if they are going after custom development.
Yeah, customs. Okay, customizations. All right. So yeah. All right, that makes sense. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your analysis there. And
anytime.
I think we'll go to a break, and then we'll come back with Paul Byrne.
Solutions Review is inviting you to join InsightJam.com. What started a few years ago as a social media event to celebrate enterprise technology has now grown into an always-on tech community with live events, discussions, videos, vendor showcases, and industry resources. Our vetted roster of experts, thought leaders, and analysts are sharing tips and tricks daily. So if you're interested in getting involved, join the long list of companies and brands who have already participated by visiting InsightJam.com today. Now back to the show.
We're back, and we're here on our interview section number 2 with SAP expert Paul Byrne. So, Paul, maybe I can have you introduce yourself.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Been doing some ERP for, I think, 25 years now, so kind of I'm a newbie compared to you. I'm a fresher, right? But I've done lots of different ERP and mainly focused through our Dragon ERP mainly on SAP, but we are ERP agnostic.
And I know that you focus on SAP, and I think mainly SAP ECC to S/4HANA conversions to the cloud lately. That's been in the news. So I've got a few questions for you. So first of all, you're very active on LinkedIn. Thanks very much. And you've done some really nice things like starting the ERP Gurus hashtag. I've noticed that we have our ERP Doctors hashtag as well, but it's more ERP Gurus is more focused on SAP, and a lot of lively conversations with various analysts and, Sam and Eric Kimberling and, and things like that. And I hear you say a lot that talking about the people aspect of an ERP implementation versus technology, that pretty much 100% or virtually 100% of the success of an ERP implementation or digital transformation is due to people. And I've heard you talk about what you call phase zero, and I wonder if you could explain that.
Sure. So we don't believe that any of the ERPs, they're not left-handed screwdrivers. Every ERP organization makes a product for the market, and they've all been doing it for a long time. So there are millions of lines of code in there. Sure, there'll be some defects, but there is nothing fundamentally wrong with these systems. And if a bug or a defect comes up, it gets fixed pretty damn quick. Sure, and there is some things that hit the news that, this organization haven't fixed that, or they haven't fixed that, and it's been sitting there for a year. Well, it's not impacting enough customers, or it's not really that big. It's just grabbed the news. And, everything that grabs the news is not really newsworthy, right? And very rarely you're going to get good news stories in the news, because good news doesn't sell news, right?
So you hear a lot about failures and not a lot about how do you succeed.
You don't hear about, it's like you don't hear that many good restaurant reviews. You hear bad ones and you read the bad ones. So we like, if you go to an air show, you want to see a crash. Nobody will ever admit it. When you go to a Formula One or a NASCAR, people actually want to see a pileup. They'll never tell you. But that's really our human flaw. We like to see disasters and we want to talk about them.
Right.
So where you've got 100% failure is because of people. People are not ready. Organizations are not ready. Organizations go, we need that ERP, that's for HANA, that Infor, that Unit 4, that whatever that, the Oracle, all those good things Sam speaks about and you speak about. They're all very good, but people actually put their foot on the pedal straight away and go, without preparing the organization. To implement any ERP, I need your best people. The best people in your organization who understand how your organization works. So this is part of phase zero. You got to build the trust. And I've done crazy stuff like put people on top of a warehouse and abseil them down the side of a building, because I'm the last person to drop them off the side of the building because they're looking in my eyes. That I find that helps to build the trust, and people will come to me with the smallest of problems. I can fix anything if I know about it. And then your project is not green the whole time, then red in the last 10 minutes to midnight, right? The clock is ticking down. Oh, hang on, something's wrong. Why didn't I know about it 3 weeks or 3 months ago? So if you got the trust of the people that we're not going to tell tales out of school, we'll fix it, whatever it is, and we'll get you live. So it's people preparation, it's organization preparation. Is the organization ready to change?
Right.
We've always done things this way and this way. We're always going to do it. I don't care about your newfangled, lovely bells and whistles ERP system. We're going to keep on doing things the way we've always done it. Our business is special. Geez, if I had $1 for every time I heard that, I see you smiling. You've heard it yourself, right?
Many times.
We've got to bend the ERP backwards, which was never designed to do. So don't do it. It's an ERP doesn't actually make you money. And it combined your manufacturing, your warehousing, your production planning, your sales, your procurement, your inventory, your people side, your asset management. none of those individually make you money, but piled together, composable if you want to call it, they make up a powerful tool set that help you control your organization and your stock and your customers and your procurement and your working capital, and you're getting the products to the customer, making sure you've got the right products to make all of that good stuff. And they're just tools in your toolbox. I often say, nobody wants a drill. The ERP being the drill. People actually want the hole. You never wanted to.
Yeah, they're scared, right? I mean, so what you're talking about is change management. People say,
totally,
why do we have to do this? Or we've done this way for however many years, and so why do we have to change? It's getting a hold of that process. And actually, I think I've seen in projects that not only do we need to assess at the beginning in what you call the phase zero, you really have to keep assessing as the project goes on through some sort of survey tool or some sort of automated application that does that. And also continue to monitor the processes, because the other thing is getting those as-is processes kind of nailed down, seeing if there are any gaps, defining what the to-be processes would be, and then have some sort of process mapping or some sort of process analysis tool to see how things are going throughout the project, basically, until it's
absolutely. And there's a thing. Sorry, go on. There's a thing in mid-project is called the Valley of Despair, right?
Yes.
It's that point in time where they all start off, invigorated, ready to go, and then they like, oh God, this is all new to me. Oh, geez, I don't understand it. And they start pushing back against the new implementation. It's not the way we used to do things. We need to do things the way we used to do them. Suddenly they get to the lowest point, which is that valley, that bottom part, right? And they're all upset, and they want to pick on the SI, and they want to pick on the consultants. They want to pick on the software, the ERP package. And it's all everybody else's fault. And then suddenly they start coming up the other side. And this is where the hand-holding is required. You bring them, and you put up with, the tension that you get. But it can be a good tension as well if you manage it correctly. And they say, oh, that's how we did it in the old system. Oh, now I know. Now I get it. And you get the penny drop moment. We also want to build an ERP roadmap and build in a continuous improvement scenario that get them live and then go, that's not it. You'll carry on for many years to come, getting better and better and better.
I mean, that's great advice, no matter which ERP that you have, basically, with the change management, but also building up a design for the software that goes in, along with the digital transformation. And you want to also define the metrics, your business metrics and your KPIs that the system can measure, and marry those two up so that you can measure those during the implementation and afterwards, so you can see how your KPIs improve.
I'm a tiny little bit against digital transformation because it's still a business transformation. We don't need a digital strategy. We need a business strategy in the digital age. That's just my thing, right?
No, I like that. I should change that myself. So anyway, I've got another question for you. So just coming back to SAP and the ECC customers that you have that are currently thinking about or going to S/4HANA Cloud. What's your impression of that 2027 deadline and what's entailed in that? And what's your estimate of what percentage of ECC customers are actually already doing that? Or are they some of them sitting on the sidelines and trying to figure out the roadmap and what's going on and everything like that? What's your impression?
A lot of people are sitting on the sidelines because they don't know. And there's so much information coming out. They're sitting on the fence because they're thinking and hoping, and they'll change the date. They'll move the date, right? It's not because, and we've got to remember this, that ECC is not going to stop working on the 31st to the 12th. Sorry, I'll do it for the 31st of December. 2027. Your first deadline is 2025 because you've got to get your enhancement packs, the situation above enhancement pack 5 to be ready for 2027 so that you can then purchase or procure the extended maintenance package to bring you out to 2030. So, but you could then, from 2027, if you get to enhancement pack 6 or 7, I don't always recommend 8 because it's a huge project in itself. And you're gonna kill yourself with too much change and too much project exhaustion of your people. So go to EHP 7, big enough project in itself, and be ready to go for your next phase.
So that EHP 7 is a version of ECC, correct?
It is, yeah. It's like in other technical language, it's service pack.
Service pack. Okay, got it. Yep. So then
with all the bug fixes and whatever.
Yeah.
And it helps.
Is it the same if you have were an early adopter for the S4 HANA on-prem? Does that help you?
For the on-prem, now, here's where the marketing gets all mixed up because they're saying you won't get the new innovations if you had an older version or if you're staying on-prem. You're only getting new innovations if you're on the cloud. Now, I think that's way too much change for people's mentality because they've been 20 plus years on R3, ECC 5, ECC 6, and now it's like you want me to go to S4 HANA and you want me to go to the cloud. That's huge, right?
In 3 years.
In 3 years. Now, they have known about it for some time. And and I don't want to draw a comparison, but it's not a bad comparison. But where the millennial bug, people said, and that turned out to be sort of a damn squid to a point. But I remember that there till crazy o'clock on client sites, fixing the stuff so that the millennial bug didn't happen. So, it's putting in the hard yards now to make sure that we're not impacted.
Okay. That's interesting perspective. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, definitely. So I got a couple more things here real quick. Let's see. Is there a kind of are there various ways you can accelerate your move to S4HANA, right?
There are.
For example, the RISE program. Can you explain the RISE program? And then I also want to know about the thing called Lean IX.
Sure. So RISE is SAP's promise to bring you from wherever you are today, whatever state you're in, up onto the cloud. But they've also got the GROW program, which is for smaller organizations new to SAP, and yet new. But let's not go there right now. But your RISE will bring you, and what people need to be careful about that, you need to read your contract. Don't believe the huff and the hyperbole and whatever that comes out. Read and understand what needs to happen, because you're looking at license changes. You're moving from perpetual licensing to subscription licensing. You're moving to somebody else supporting your system. But how much support are they giving you? Are they can you fire all your basis people? No. Does ABAP stop? Does coding stop? No. You need to have your teams still there, because you still need to be able to optimize your own system for you. Just because you've got a standard configuration, it doesn't mean the same as everybody else, the other 400,000 customers supposedly. You have to be able to optimize it for your organization, because there's SAP Activate, there's Readiness Check, there's Custom Code Analyzer, the SAP Signavio, which is a brilliant tool. I can't say enough about that. It actually,
what does that do?
It'll go into your current system. It'll look at your current processes and procedures and go, have you got procedures for that? And it'll show you what's being used and what's not being used. And if you haven't got those processes defined, and it'll give you sort of a wireframe of the processes, the process flow map. You'll generally kind of use it kind of a Visio flow map type thing that would give you
Okay.
a representation
process,
of the process. Yeah. An order to cash, a procure to pay, a finance close, a production plan, an MRP run, whatever, your inventory check, all of those processes are in there built, and you can build your own as well, because you can, it's a little bit harder because you got to do all the mapping yourself. But if you get all those, for some organizations go, oh yeah, Dan is the guy who does all that magic in the corner, but Dan goes on vacation. Oh, what happens? Oh my God. We can't invoice people. We can't get those invoices out the door because Dan was, sometimes people keep those little company secrets in their pocket, even when they go on holiday, because they want to feel more needed. And then like the smelly stuff has hit the fan when they get back, and there's some late night sweaty moments to get things back and going again. But if your organization can't send those invoices out, no revenue's coming in and nothing's going to get paid for. So,
right.
That's when you get all your processes defined, mapped.
Okay, perfect, Paul. So,
you asked about Lean IX. Sorry, apologies.
Oh yeah, Lean IX. Sorry.
Lean IX is the enterprise architecture model. It'll actually look at all your architecture. I've gone into data centers, huge halls, and we were paying for the hall, and the only thing the organization had left in that hall was one simple modem, and they were still paying for the whole hall, right? So it's about not having technical debt left over after you've moved across, and you're still paying $1 bazillion a month for a huge data center hall, and you go, where's all that money going? So it's going to help you map all of your enterprise architecture and retiring.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I was hoping to get into BTP, but we'll have that for another time, or we'll just go back and forth on LinkedIn. And so Paul's company is Dragon ERP, and he has created a hashtag on LinkedIn called ERP Gurus, which is focused on has a lot of people in there. They let one Infor guy in there anyway, but it's focused on SAP. And that's a sort of a companion to my ERP doctors as well.
I'd say we want to be more agnostic, because the idea behind that is we want to get your brain in there. We want to be able to, just go, we're all peers, right? We're all a lot of smart people, and it's not a huge number, and it'll never be a huge number. It's like, so we can just throw an idea out there where some people are, let's say, they've got less integrity than others, and I'm going to say, borrow somebody's documentation and don't credit. So, we can challenge those people as a group and go, this what you're doing is not right. So, because all of these people are creating content, you're creating content, Eric's creating content, I create some content. So, it's like, if I'm sweating the midnight oil, creating stuff that I can share with people, it's not really very fair that somebody else just goes and takes people's names out of it. But also then, getting able to take advantage of everybody's joint followers and maybe getting a bigger following.
Yeah, I really appreciate, I wanted to bring that up because I really appreciate your attitude on that. And I try to be the same way. I try to be very open to lots of different things and just doing implementations to make them better, doing business transformations to make them better. And we're all colleagues in that, in a way. So I want to thank you very much for being on the show, Paul. And let's be back in touch soon.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Want more Insight Jam? Follow us on Instagram for exclusive content like a daily dose of best practices and buying advice from industry experts and leading solution providers. Or subscribe to our YouTube channel for long-form highlights from our expert panel discussions. And if you prefer to listen, please rate and review the Insight Jam podcast on Apple, Spotify, or Google. The Solutions Review team is hard at work collecting the best enterprise technology information from around the globe, so don't miss out. Now, let's get back to the show.
We're back for section 3. I want to say thank you so much to Paul Byrne. Did a wonderful job. And I'm sure it's, exactly. But I think it's just really wonderful that, I have colleagues that are SAP people, consultants from all different kinds of ERP packages. And I'm really trying to understand and learn from. And Sam's been great with this because he's tech agnostic. As you guys know, I'm not tech agnostic, but I try to be very fair and open. So that's why we'll be bringing people from all over the spectrum of ERP and enterprise technology. So, but I want to thank Paul for his contribution today. So, Sam, what'd you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, one thing I personally like about these interviews as well as ERP space is you are going to get a lot of experts. They really know their game. And obviously, Paul is one of them. So, super credible guy, really loved the interview. So I have some points that I want to hit on, and that's going to be my POV. And then I'm pretty sure you are going to have your perspective as well. So maybe we'll touch on that. So let's start with the initial commentary, right? So people side versus technology, that's real, okay? The ERP implementations in general, technology, yes, technology matters, but people side is where the play is. If you are not able to figure out the people side of equation, there is a very high chance that you are not going to get what you are looking for, okay? We are also very big proponent of the phase zero, that he had mentioned, phase zero, I don't know if that is a thing, but but you need to have that. And that is what is called being ERP ready. And you need to be ERP ready, not only from the people perspective. And when people say people perspective, I guess that is going to be the skill set of people, a skill set of your own internal team. It's going to be of your vendors. It's going to be everybody, because you are part of the same team. You are playing the same sport. And if you are going to have a weak link, you are most likely going to fail. Okay, so it's the marriage of a lot of different forces. So you need to make sure that everything is going to be aligned. Now, let's analyze some other things that he mentioned related to software not being as important and they not having defects. That is right. Okay, 90% of the enterprise software that have been implemented 10,000 times, unless you are buying somebody, very small system that has been installed, let's say one time, then you are probably going to get a lot of defects. But before that, let's define what a defect is. Okay, so I love his analogy about hole versus drill. Okay, from the customer's expectation, okay, they are expecting a hole, and that hole is so different that the technical teams can never understand what their hole is and what they are expecting. So overarchingly speaking, the whole ERP project becomes a defect because you have misalignment in expectations. The house that your customers are planning to live or expecting to live, they are probably not going to get that unless you have articulated every single spec on a piece of paper, and that has been approved by everybody, which means millions of dollars in planning, which none of the mid-market organizations have. So that's why you sort of need to find the middle ground in doing that. Now, going back to the bug analysis, I guess, okay? So there are 3 or 4 things that are going to cause defects. Number 1 is going to be differences in expectation. And that is probably the biggest effect that anybody can have, because what I was expecting, I didn't get. But even just from the technical perspective, you are going to have a lot more defects, okay? So the defect could be caused by, number 1, purely by the software. Number 2, add-ons. Number 3, integration. How many add-ons do you have? Okay, they are going to cause a lot of defects. SAP is great, but SAP is utilizing probably 15 add-ons. They are not going to be as great. So you are going to get defects. Okay, and maybe you are lucky. Okay, maybe you are lucky that you found software integration that worked perfectly fine. But then who is going to take care of your data? Data as well as processes. Okay, you are trying to import them as is. The defects are going to be because of your data, because that data wasn't good to begin with. And any enterprise software, the way they are designed, we assume a very specific state. In fact, any of the enterprise software, I don't care which category you are talking about, ERP, CRM, whatever category that you are talking about, okay? They assume a certain state of data model as well as architecture, across the system categories. And if you are going to have misalignment from that, most likely you are going to get the defects. And that's why each ERP implementation is so unique. And these defects that you are going to get, they are going to be primarily because of your data, because of your processes, how many add-ons you are using, how much customization you have done. It is not necessarily the software itself. There might be certain limitations, and those limitations are going to be in expectations, because when you are reading these things in marketing materials, they are going to be at the 10,000 foot level. But here, when you look at the technical systems, we are dealing with ones and zeros. And even if your 1 or 0 is going to be misalignment, you are probably going to find a defect in that. So I'll stop there. Then I don't know, Amisi, what commentary you have. I spoke a lot.
Well, there's a few things. Obviously, data has to be cleaned up, normalized, because you don't want, dirty data going in to your new systems. I say systems because it could be coming from different systems. You probably want to, as you're cleaning up, or probably before you clean up, but when you clean up, you're going to upload to a data lake or something like that. It crosses different systems. Okay, so that you want to clean up in preparation from that. And you want to use some sort of process mapping tool, right? And going through this process. And, he talked about Lean IX is also a way to map or find out the architectures of various different systems feeding in there, that it can sniff that out and create you need an overall enterprise architectural model, for all that encompasses all the different systems. But it looks like there are some tools within SAP that can allow you to do that. But you make a good point. I mean, if you have a CRM or success factors or anything like that, another module of SAP, even then you're talking about having to manage that master data and clean it up. And also feed your AI. Your LLMs won't work well on dirty data. So they need to learn on good data, right?
So I'll offer some comments here, I guess, on your commentary, and then we'll go back on some more notes, I guess. So number one, when you are importing the data, if you are simply importing in data lake typically is going to be the easiest. But data lake is not supposed to be your transactional system. The purpose of data lake is after the fact, meaning reporting, analysis, study. It matters, it doesn't matter as much, okay? What really matters, what is your bread and butter, is going to be your transactions. If you're not able to run your transactions, you're not going to get planning anyways. So your transactions matter far more. And that's why when you look at this more from the ERP lenses, when we are talking about ERP implementation, ERP failure, this is all about uploading this data inside your ERP system. So your data need to be aligned with the data model of the target ERP system. Even if you are going from version 9 to version 10 of SAP itself, there might be differences in data. Okay, that could be a massive change for the organization. Here we are talking about just going from one version to the next. We are not even talking about same product from the same vendor. You are going from your Visual to CSI, CSI to LN, LN to M3. It could be a massive lift because those two are very, 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 very different products. Here we are talking about something that somebody had created in 1980s, and now we are uploading this as is in the new system. That's not going to work. Okay, you require re-engineering of that data. And to your comment related to Lean IX, these tools are amazing. AI is phenomenal. Okay, but here is what AI cannot do. Okay, AI cannot read my mind and tell that why I have spelled 3M and 3M Inc. as two customer instances in my ERP and why they are disconnected. That's where the real problem is in ERP. Okay, because you have 15,000 users using their heads. Their heads are wired very differently. Okay, you are not going to have any sort of governance processes. If you are using systems like SAP, you are still lucky. Okay, because SAP has the highest transactional integrity. And that's why people hate SAP, to be completely honest, because it's so hard to use. But it is hard to use because it is enforcing a lot of rules so that your data is going to be clean, which is what people don't appreciate. Now, if you have your data mess, you are going to get an amplified map, when you are going to implement an ERP. So I'll stop there, Dan, whatever comments. Yeah.
Right. And I agree with that. And the reason why I brought up the data lake is more of a way to consolidate different systems. And in the process, load things like transactional data, or historical data, right? Your GL transactions going back 7 years so that you can get your, financial statements out of the data lake using BI, right? That's mainly what I was talking about. And you're right. I mean, you don't want to feed you want to clean up those customers, right? That's a duplicate. That's a different address. That's a different, whatever. You want to make all that cleanup before you load that master data, so you can say, and then use a master data management type tool, right? To make sure all of that stuff's clean. And when I talk about that, I mean business partners, right? I need customers, suppliers, items, bonds, things like that. All static data in a way, right? Not too much in the way of, in fact, nothing in the way of historical or transactional data in the system. Just cleaned up master data files, and then load open orders, open sales orders, open purchase orders, things like that, right? Only those into the ERP system. Don't junk it up with exactly as you said. So keep it nice and clean.
Yeah, so I'll touch some more comments. I mean, to be completely honest, if you are getting an ERP system for financial reporting, to be completely honest, I don't know why you are getting an ERP system, because that's not where the power of ERP is. Okay, financial reporting is after the fact. Okay, anybody can do that. If you hired a smart CFO, accountants, they are really good at financial reporting. You can probably do that in the FP&A system. You can do it in accounting system. You don't need ERP for that. Okay, ERP is going to be relevant when you are processing your transactions and you need speed of those transactions. You need insight from those transactions. You need financial insights from those transactions. You need financial control. The example of financial control would be that I am processing an order and that order is $50,000. Okay. And now I want to make sure that that order does not get processed. There might be financial fraud or whatever. This could be just one example of the real-time control, real-time insight. This is where the real power of ERP is, in making sure the accurate representation of inventory is going to be across all of the process. The accurate representation of customer and vendor is going to be across the process. Financial reporting, easy peasy, anybody can do that. You don't need ERP for that. ERP is far more, and that's where I guess people don't understand how much you can do from the ERP perspective, to be completely honest. The amount of business results that you can do, and that is very rare because 90% of the time, the implementations are so bad that you don't necessarily get any sort of business results, even if you are paying so much on ERP licenses. And that's what is called business transformation. You need to change your business. You need to change your processes. You need to change your data. You need to change your people to be able to get to what ERP is really capable of.
Yeah, and I just mentioned that in the context of the overall ERP. I just took an example of general ledger date, right? Of course, once you start running on the new system, you're generating the financial transactions as you transact. When you receive inventory, for instance, you're getting financial transactions that go with that, hitting the general ledger. So you're being able to produce your financial statements from that point on, even within the ERP.
Yeah,
that's just one of the types of reports that you get out of the system. That's one of the types of transactions that you see in the system once you get started. I was mainly referring to how do we kind of position ourselves the best way and the quickest, cleanest way in order to migrate the system. It could be like a brownfield or whatever they call it, right? Just to take an on-premise system and go and put it up to the cloud exactly as it is. Now that may or may not include transactional data in it, but loading it into a data lake and letting some BI work on that, especially if you have multiple systems feeding into that, is a way to do that without feeding all your history and your transactions and everything that's dirty from the 90s or whatever it is, right, into the new system, to not junk it up. That's mainly what I was referring to. So
completely agree. So do you want to hit on more points, or we are at roughly 1 hour point right now?
Yeah, sure. So Sage signs strategic collaboration agreement with AWS to enable AI-powered solutions for small and medium-sized businesses. So this is basically something that, right, a lot of ERPs already run on AWS, right? So it's nothing particularly new, right? Infor runs on AWS already. But this is, I guess, for small and medium-sized businesses. And is this AWS solutions? I think this is for that, what they call the Sage Earth, right? This is a, environment, social and ESG. Yeah, ESG solution in a way, right? It has the carbon accounting. SAP calls it the green ledger, I think. Right? Same sort of thing, but for small and medium-sized businesses. Is that the way you read it?
So it's a very interesting development. And honestly speaking, I think companies are going to be making a lot of changes in general. Okay. The changes are going to be in terms of people. We are already seeing a lot of executive movements, on Wall Street, and we'll be covering those stories probably next week. Okay. But here now, AI is driving a lot of things. Traditionally, I don't really have intel in terms of where Sage Intacct was hosted or where Sage was hosted to begin with. Sage, the large majority of their products are very desktop, to be completely honest. So I don't know if they really needed cloud. Exactly. So Sage Intacct was the only one probably in cloud, and I don't know if they were in AWS. Now they have to go to AWS because they are trying to explore AI, which is very, very, very resource intensive as well as heavy. So now if they are trying something related to LLM, then they need far superior infrastructure. And that's why they are making this move. Now, in my mind, to be completely honest, I mean, there's a little misalignment, okay? Overall, Sage Intacct is a very SMB product. In fact, it's a very accounting, product. It's really multi-entity accounting. It does not have much of the ERP capabilities, to be completely honest. And now you are going to introduce LLM, which is a great idea for SMBs. I don't know what they are going to do with it. Because they have very different problems.
Most of them they're so overwhelmed. They couldn't do anything with LLM.
They cannot figure out how to model their SKUs, I guess, and how to model their customers.
Can't load items. I mean, how are they going to use AI? I think everybody has to make a move, right? You have to say you're doing something these days with AI or ESG or something like that in order to...
You have to have AI in your marketing material, Dan, to be able to close your deals. You know how this works.
Correct. Oh, man. This is fun. Yes, it is. It is. So I think we probably should, with that, we'll probably wrap up. So looking forward to seeing everybody next week for a new episode. And let's see. There was something I was supposed to say, Sam. Tell me what I was supposed to say.
Yeah, I mean, you simply do the logistics, I guess. What people should be expecting, I guess, from the next show, if you have any sort of insights there. But related to the podcast, if you want to announce that this is also going to be available in the audio form, I guess. That's my understanding.
Correct. Yes, we're going to have audio versions of the YouTube that we're coming out on. So I think that's a very exciting development. A lot of people like to listen in their cars and stuff, and don't have to watch us on video, see our faces. I think that's very exciting. I'm very pleased with the results and how these guys at Solutions Review are supporting us, and the professional value of professional value of what we have here. It's phenomenal, and I'm just happy to be a part of it with you, Sam.
Yeah, same here. I'm just blessed to have you all.
All right, till next week. We'll see you guys.